Hello, fellow Wizarding World fans, and welcome to History of Magic. Today, we're finally able to talk about story details for Hogwarts Legacy, my most anticipated game of 2022, now that we both have Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West. I have been waiting for this game since it was leaked back in 2018, I believe, 2019, somewhere around there, and I have just been so excited, like many of you out there, to find out anything more. So without further ado, let's dive right into the story details. So players will start their Hogwarts journey as their own customizable student, male, female, whatever race you want. You're gonna be able to pick your house, and it's just going to be a great role-playing experience, I believe. The one thing I'm not too excited about story-wise here is that players are going to be starting in their 5th year of the school. So you're starting late. I have an issue with this lore-wise. I think it would have been really cool to create your own character, like your own first-year student, and then have like a little 2-hour intro of you being introduced to Hogwarts and the main gameplay systems. But it makes sense as a gameplay perspective to have gamers start at the 5th year. But these players will have a rare and unique ability to manipulate very ancient magic around the world, and they will discover the forces of evil that are trying to harness this ancient power and possibly take over the wizarding world. Hogwarts Legacy is going to take place in the late 1800s, and the story team has already stated that they are trying to be as faithful to the story material as possible. Now, with a few characters they have already introduced that has direct links to later Harry Potter characters, I would assume that for pure fan service reasons, the headmaster at Hogwarts at this time is going to be Phineas Black, which would set the game after 1865, since Phineas Black graduated that year. However, the inclusion of Professor Binns already as a ghost would mean that the game should take place between 1865 and 1899, since Professor Binns passed away before 1890. Now, with the late 1800s not being deeply explored by Rowling, this would mean that a lot of the new characters were never written by her, which is fine. But we are going to be introduced to a lot of new people that we've never heard of before. One of these teachers is Professor Figg, who I personally believe is an ancestor of Mrs. Figg, who watched over Harry during his time with the Dursleys. Now, there's some speculation onto who Professor Figg is. There was some, I was reading, that people think he is the headmaster of Hogwarts. I don't believe so. I think he is the runes professor, which would explain why he's trying to uncover these runes with you who have the ability to interact with them. Now, Figg's main mission is to uncover a possible 4th Goblin Rebellion led by the new character Rangrock. And I would imagine this is where Professor Binns comes in and will be extremely relevant. Fans of the books will remember that Professor Binns' lessons would talk about the 3 previous Goblin Rebellions. I feel like you will definitely have a nice exposition dump with Binns and explore more of the Goblin Rebellions as the game goes on, which, for some reason, I've always been extremely intrigued by the Rebellion, and probably just because I love the history of the Wizarding World, knowing more and more is just gonna tickle my nerd heart. And speaking of tickling my nerd heart, there are dark wizards creating an uneasy alliance with the goblins, and these wizards are led by no other than Victor Rockwood. Of course, Victor Rockwood is a new character for the story, but just him being a ancestor of Augustus Rockwood, the Death Eater, is going to create a nice little through line. I hope they don't have to connect everything back to Harry Potter proper. Those are the issues with prequel stories, that they can't stand on their own. They have to focus too much on the main series, and I don't need everything to connect, being like, oh, here's Sirius Black the First, or oh, here's young Dumbledore, because that's something we could theoretically get in this game. I don't really want to see that. I want to see the story stand on its own and just have hints and nods towards characters like Professor Figg and like Victor Rockwood. Now, the reason why fans fell in love with Harry Potter and the Wizarding World is much due to its side characters as well as the main cast. And Hogwarts Legacy is seemingly going to introduce some new, hopefully fan favorite cast members. Natsai Onai is our Gryffindor representative who is driven by the justice she seeks, they said in the trailer. So I would imagine that her family was harmed by the Dark Wizards or maybe the Goblins in some way, and she is just driven to avenge them or trying to set things right within her family, which could make for a very emotional story arc. Poppy Sweeting is our, of course, fellow Hufflepuff, who loves magical beasts and will no doubt help us train and learn all about the creatures that inhabit this world, which is another thing I'm really looking forward to diving into. This game looks to have a bestiary. Hopefully we can flesh out some of the things we learned in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the movies and the novels, and just dive deeper into the creatures of this world, because you get to take care of them. You get to raise Nifflers, and I really excited to see how Poppy ties into that aspect of it and what side quests she will give us so we can learn more about blast-ended skewers or, of course, Nifflers or pixies and just get nice and deep into the Wizarding World lore. Now, the final character the trailer introduces is our Slytherin friend, Sebastian Sallow, who has some kind of curse on his family that he seems very driven to break at all costs. Now, this is going to be kind of nice to see a more, I don't want to say selfless Slytherin, because his goals are very selfish in a sense. He wants to protect himself and his family, but it's nice to see a ambitious Slytherin who will team up with you, but he's not a bad person. I like seeing these Slytherins in a new light, because not all the Slytherins were terrible, evil wizards. Yes, you had more of the ambitious and the cunning, who do exhibit more of those toxic traits, or toxic parts of those traits, but I'm really looking forward to seeing a great representation of what a good Slytherin is. So the overarching plot is definitely going to be your character teaming up with Professor Figg and exploring the Goblin Rebellion and the Wizarding World, and that's going to be really interesting, I feel. I have to admit, when they first announced this game and said that Rowling was not involved, I was really worried for the story. I didn't know how the team would respect the lore, respect the fans. I didn't know if they were going to change a bunch of things or stay really faithful. But thankfully, this trailer proved to me that they are going to stay as faithful as possible, and I feel like that is because of the narrative lead, Maria Squire, who has been involved for Harry Potter games for years. She has thank you credits for Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets, Order of the Phoenix, and Half-Blood Prince. And she was also involved in Wonderbook Book of Spells. And knowing that she was involved in that game specifically kind of tells me that she lived and breathed Harry Potter. And that's what we need. We need someone who knows the story, who knows the intricacies of the world, and can respect what Rowling has created and not put their own put your own flair on it for sure, but don't be changing things. Don't be messing with the lore, and just stay as faithful as you can to Rowling and her creation. And my fears were put as ease when I looked at her Moby Games record, and once I saw this trailer and how passionate the devs were about this game, I was really excited. You can really tell when a dev is, anybody really, is passionate about what they're doing, or is just doing it because, oh hey, this is a paycheck. But the developers at Avalanche, or at least the main ones we were experienced to in the dev documentary, they seem to be so into this, so excited, and the game reflects that. So I really, my faith has been restored in this game. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to dive into this world. Hogwarts Legacy is going to be that game that just sucks me in. I know I'm going to have to book a day or two off of work. It's going to be a partial issue, but I'm definitely going to explore this world as deeply as I can, find all the lore, and just play it to my heart's content. And I cannot wait until holiday 2022. Hopefully we don't get another delay, but fingers crossed it comes out on time. So that was Hogwarts Legacy, the story details anyways. I will be doing a gameplay dive. That's going to take me a bit longer, so thank you for your patience. I'd love to hear what you guys have to think about the story and the gameplay of Hogwarts Legacy, so please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys all very soon. Have a great day.